Sitting at his desk a short time later, Brock worked on a report on the apprehension of the pickpocket, but he was distracted by images of a gorgeous, dark-haired woman with exotic brown eyes and soft lips. Sai's sister, Daphne, captured his attention every time she was around, and his thoughts were on her much of the time. Her beauty, intelligence, and kindness called to him. She'd made her feelings for him clear when she'd kissed him in September. It was almost November, and the memory of that kiss hadn't dimmed in Brock's mind one little bit. She'd accused him of being racist, and he knew she was right. The murder of his beloved grandfather by some Comanche braves had instilled a deep hatred of Indians in his heart. As a child, he'd witnessed the attack, and he'd never gotten over it. That hatred was one of the reasons he barely tolerated Sai. He also resented Sai because their boss, Sheriff Rob Anderson, thought the department needed Sai on their staff, as though Brock and the other deputies couldn't handle crime on their own. Sai seemed to think he had the right to issue orders to his coworkers, which grated on Brock's nerves. All this fueled the animosity between the two men. However, since they'd made a truce in September, it hadn't been as strong. They were learning how to work together, but still butted heads. Brock had developed a grudging respect for Sai, and Sai gave Brock credit for his solid investigative methods and excellent photography skills. Brock sighed and forced his mind back to his report, propping his feet up on his desk and getting down to business. Ellie Jeffries came in the door as he finished up. He smiled at the petite brunette. "Well, I see that you're back to your normal self." Ellie nodded. "And glad of it. I don't know how actors stay in those get-ups all night. I was glad to get that wig off, too. It might be cold out, but I was hotter than blazes in it." Brock grinned. "But you did make a very pretty old lady." Ellie laughed and hung up her woolen coat. "Thanks. I'm glad you nabbed him so I don't have to keep dressing up like that." Brock put his report in a file folder and got up. "I'm glad we got him, too. He's not cooperating much, though. Walt Gaines is supposed to stop by to talk to him." Ellie groaned. "Oh no, not Walt." Brock chuckled. "What's the matter? Don't you want to see the man who's in love with you?" Ellie wanted to punch Brock. "No, I don't. How many times do I have to tell him that I'm not interested?" Crossing to a filing cabinet, Brock said, "I'm guessing a whole heap more. What's so wrong with Walt? He seems like a nice enough fella." "Too nice. I can't make him mad. I've tried." Brock put the file away and gave her a confused look. "So you prefer bad-tempered men?" Ellie flopped down in her chair. "Of course not." Brock sat on the corner of her desk. "You're pining for me, aren't you?" Ellie chuckled. "Yes, Brock, you found me out. No, there's only one woman pining over you, and she's related to your arch-enemy." Frowning at her mocking tone, Brock moved away from her desk and put on his coat. "What's the matter, Brock? Don't like the truth?" Ellie asked. "You know you're a horse's ass for not calling on her. Happiness is right at your fingertips, but you won't take a risk, will you?" Brock jammed his hat on his head. "I'm going out on patrol." He went out the door, but didn't get very far before an idea occurred to him. Going back inside, he strode over to Ellie's desk. "Yeah?" She eyed him quizzically. "I'll tell you what. I'll call on Daphne if you let Walt take you out." "If I have to take a risk, so do you," Brock challenged. Ellie mulled it over. She liked Daphne and thought that her and Brock would be a good match if Brock could get over his aversion to Indians. Going out with Walt was a small price to pay if it helped two people take a chance on love. She stuck her hand out. "Deal. Shake on it." Brock's eyebrows shot up. He'd expected her to refuse. However, there was no way to back out of his proposal, so he shook her hand. Showing much more confidence than he felt, he went out the door again, cursing his pride and big mouth.